Hey there. Welcome. Thanks so much for tuning in. If this is your first time watching me, I am Shatoya, and I'm the event planner at A La Carte Galore, and I help entrepreneurs plan, coordinate, and execute signature events that help scale their businesses. Hey, Kylie's. So you guys know the drill. Let me know where you're streaming live from, and make sure that you go ahead and share this out with your followers. So my philosophy is that one, events is an integral part of entrepreneurship. So if you are a business owner, if you are an entrepreneur, you need to be hosting events for your business. It's non-negotiable for 2018 and beyond. So one, it helps you to be able to increase your profits. You can increase it for your business through events, just based on whatever skills, whatever skill sets that you may have that you can teach other people, right? So a lot of people say, well, I'm an entrepreneur and I know that I need to start hosting events, but I don't know what I should be hosting events on. So whatever it is that you're skilled at, so if you started a business, then obviously you're expert at something, or you wouldn't have started a business, right? So those are some things that you can be teaching people or teaching your audience. So also figuring out like what their struggle points are, and those are areas that you can help them become better in, right? So one thing I've noticed is a lot of entrepreneurs are taking the DIY route when it comes to planning their events. And some entrepreneurs just want to plan their own events on their own, and some actually don't have it within their budget to actually hire an event planner. So a lot of entrepreneurs are DIYing their events, and they're pretty much just out here winging it. And one of the main mistakes that they're making is that they are overlooking event marketing. So that is how you are actually able to get butts and seats for your event. That is actually how you're able to sell out your event, and also help you to be able to increase your visibility for your event and your business, right? So as you guys are planning your event for 2018, I want to give you guys 5 mistakes to avoid when you're planning your next event. So if you are kind of struggling, or you're pretty new with the whole event planning thing, and you are looking for strategies and resources in order to host a successful and profitable event, you've found the right place. So there are tons of resources on my website, which is alacartegalore.com. And on my Facebook page, you can watch over 2 or 3 dozen, probably almost, videos as far as content goes. So there are multiple strategies and tools that I have given out for free. So make sure that you guys go ahead and check that out on my Facebook page too. How's your planning going for your retreat, Kylie's? Feel free to pop in questions in the comments and let me know like how your planning process and everything is going. So first things first, we'll get right into it while you guys think of your questions and kind of post things in the comments. So 5 mistakes that I want you guys to avoid when you are planning your next event. So when you're doing event planning, I'm not gonna lie, it's not just one easy task, and once you learn everything, it's just gonna be like this and you're gonna catch on. If it's not your specialty, if it's not your niche, then it can be difficult, but it doesn't have to be difficult as long as you have a foundation to build off of. A lot of people aren't building off of a foundation, and they have no idea what they're doing, and they're just doing a whole lot of nothing, or a whole lot of things that aren't actually working for their business, right? So solid, you're excited for this year, new girls. Awesome, so excited. So one thing that I want you guys to do is to, one, avoid getting overwhelmed. So I know I talked a lot about event planning can be difficult. Event planning can be stressful, absolutely. But one thing that I don't want you guys to do is get so overwhelmed in the details that you miss the main point of why you're hosting an event, or why you're actually putting an event on. So make sure that you have some type of control over your event, making sure that you have all of your ducks in a row, making sure that you have a strategy for your planning, whether that's Excel spreadsheets, whether it's Google Drive, whether it's a notebook, like figure out what works for you and stick to that and make sure that you're actually being consistent with it. I want to make sure that you guys are not getting too overwhelmed, that you are losing control of your event. A lot of times people have these big grand visions and their budget doesn't necessarily match their vision, right? So they keep seeing things or they keep envisioning things and it's like, oh, I want to do this, or oh, I want to add that. And then after a while, the event pretty much just becomes bigger than what you anticipated it to be. And it's more like you basically bit off more than you could chew, right? So that's what I don't want you guys to do. So yes, planning does take a lot. You have to figure out venue, you have to figure out theme, you have to figure out decor, if you're going to do food and catering. So venue and food are typically the two biggest expenses when it comes to events. So make sure that you kind of keep that in mind. Some people are doing mobile bars now. So if you have like a cocktail station or a cocktail hour or something like that for your event. Other things that go into event planning is branding and marketing and obviously your budget. So I want you guys to create a budget and make sure that you're actually sticking to it and making sure that what you say that you want to do or what needs to be done actually gets done. And when you feel that, you know, you've kind of getting like you're beginning to get overwhelmed, then that's probably when you need an assistant. So if you're hosting an event, you shouldn't be planning it by yourself, right? You need to have a team. So make sure that during your planning process and in your beginning stages, you're figuring out what task needs to be done and making sure that you're building your team and delegating those tasks to other people. So planning an event, you should not be doing it alone, especially if it's a signature event or a bigger event outside of like a networking event or a meetup event, right? So if you do not have an assistant and you're planning an event that's bigger than those two things, if you don't have an assistant, you are going to get burnt out. You are going to have an emotional breakdown, and the event is going to run you. And that's not what we want. We want you to be able to run your event and not to have your event running you. So depending on like your personality and like who you want to be on your team, you can kind of figure that out like personally, but making sure that you're delegating stuff. I feel like a lot of times we get to a point where, oh, I want to plan my own event and I want to do everything by myself because I know how I want things done. I know how this needs to be done. I know how this needs to be done, and I know how that needs to be done, right? If you're planning a large event or a signature event or anything outside of the networking or meetup type events that I discussed, you need to have a team. So the smaller things as far as like researching and contacting vendors and sending out contracts for speakers, like all of the tedious tasks, you can delegate those things to somebody else so that way you can focus on more important things for your event, right? So anything as far as like emails and vendors and decorating, like anything that's small, delegate it to somebody else. Less stress for you, less time that you're spending on tedious tasks, right? So the second thing that I want you guys to avoid, so this is kind of optional to some extent, so it depends on what type of event you're hosting and the purpose of your event. So a lot of events, so the second one is food and bar is what we're going to avoid, but it depends on your event. So you literally put a post on Facebook offering my assistant a paid internship, and she was buying. We've become friends, and she's my go-to for doing things. Yes, see, you have to reach out to people. There are people out here who want to help you. Let them help you, but make sure that they're first qualified to do what it is that you're asking them to do. We don't just want you putting posts out and people applying for the position and you haven't done your due diligence. So great job, Kylie's, on finding an assistant. So one thing that I want you guys to stay away from is bar and food. So it depends on your event, right? So like I said, some events don't need a bar. Some events don't need cocktails. Some events don't need food. Like, we're coming to your event to learn something. So depending on what it is that you're teaching, I may not really care if we're going to eat or not. If it's just an event for 2 hours or a couple hours or a workshop or something like that, you don't need to have food, okay? Use that money to put towards something else, whether it's marketing, whether it's paying your speakers or something other than that, right? But if you're doing like a full day event, then maybe you want to have food. But I have clients who have done full conferences, and they don't like people, they have a break for lunch and people go out and buy their own food. So don't feel obligated that you have to include a bar and food for your event. It just depends on what type of event you're hosting and if you have it within your budget to do so, right? So that's the second one. So the third one is contracts. So I talk about this a lot. I don't care if your best friend has let's say they have like a pop-up shop or something, and they're letting you use their space for your event. Please get a contract, because something can happen the day of and they decide that they overbooked you, or they decide that the space is no longer available. And guess what? You're out of a venue space the day of your event, right? And things like this happen. Even if it's not your friend, even if it's somebody that referred you and they say, oh, they're good, they'll let you use the space. Just make sure you be here at this time, and so on and so forth. Don't take people's word for anything when it comes to planning your event. And this goes for business as well. So anybody that is promising you something or just giving you like a verbal promise, like it's not going to cut it, it's not good enough. Somebody can say, I'll sponsor linen for your event. And then you haven't gotten the contract signed and it comes the day of your event. Oh, I actually booked the client the same day of your event, so I'm not going to be able to make it to drop off the linen for your event. Don't be the person who doesn't have contracts, right? And I've learned from experience. My first event, someone decided that they were going to sponsor glass chairs, seating chairs for my event. They had a huge company. I used them for weddings as a vendor, had a relationship with them, trusted them, referred people to them and everything. They said that they would sponsor glass chairs for my event. The day of the event, we're setting up and they're like, we have X amount of events today and we don't have an extra truck to bring the chairs to your venue, but I'm calling around trying to find a truck that I can rent, but they're all sold out. Lies, lies, lies. You can go to Enterprise, you could go to Budget, you could go to Penske, you could go anywhere to rent a truck. All trucks in the state that I hosted that event in, the trucks was not sold out. But guess who was out of glass chairs? I was. But guess who had a backup plan? I did. But make sure that you guys have contracts signed. If there was a contract in place that they had an obligation to meet and they failed to do that, then Pookie on the corner. If I had a written contract and something signed, then I guarantee that wouldn't have gone that way, or there would have been like consequences for them breaking their contract. So make sure that you guys have your Pookie on the corner. Yes, Pookie on the corner had a truck. So make sure that you guys have your contracts in place. The fourth thing that I want you guys to do is avoid going into debt. And I say that, and I don't mean like, oh, like some people are like maxing out all of their credit cards. Some people actually are. But I don't want you guys to feel like, oh, this is my first event, or I haven't had an event in a while and I'm trying to impress people. I'm trying to impress my audience. I want to make sure that this event is perfect. I want to make sure that I'm able to build my business and my audience and have an impact, and make sure that I'm providing great value to my community and the people who are attending my event. And I'm going to put my all into this event, and I'm going to spend whatever it is that I need to spend to make this event successful. Don't be that person. Have a budget. I don't care how much you want to pour into other people. There's a price that goes with that, and you need to determine what that price is. It should not be endless where you're just throwing money away. And a lot of times people are throwing unnecessary money away, right? So do not go into debt. Do not go racking up your charge cards. Don't go borrowing money. Don't go taking out loans. If anything, make sure that you're getting sponsorships or taking other avenues and routes in order for you to generate income to help fund your event. So avoid credit cards, avoid loans, make sure that you have a budget, and don't just be out here saying, oh, oh, I can add this on a tab, or oh, I can add this. The next thing you know, you $3,000 over your budget, and it happens sometimes. So stay within your budget, pick a number, stick with it, and make sure that you are not getting overwhelmed with ideas and feeling like you have to do everything. A lot of times we have tons of ideas and we want to push it all on that one event. You may have a billion ideas. You have a business, you're going to be in business for a while. You can divvy up those ideas for future events to come. So make sure you're focusing on what it is that you want to be providing specifically for that event. The fifth thing I don't want you guys to do is making sure that you aren't relaxing too far in advance for your event. So I've had some people, they've like followed everything that I've told them to do. They're pretty up to speed. Everything's on track for them to have a successful event. And the last 2 weeks or so leading up to the event, they're just like, oh, I'm ready. The event's in 2 weeks. I can kind of, just relax and do whatever, kind of lollygag for the next 2 weeks. And then things start to pop up. And then now they're like not prepared anymore. So when it comes to event planning, when it comes to hosting an event, things are going to happen that you did not expect. It's just the nature of event planning. There is no such thing as a perfect event. I am an event planner, and I'm telling you guys that from experience. As much as you try to put on a perfect event, I'm not going to say that something's always going to go wrong, but there's going to be some type of hiccup. Somebody's not going to be on time. Like there's always going to be something that's going to kind of throw you off track. So make sure that you are always prepared, making sure that just because you think you've done everything, like go back and double check, like call your vendors, double check that they know what time that they need to come to set up. Make sure your speakers know what time it is that they need to come and be prepared and be mic'd up. Whoever is providing catering, double check and make sure that they know their arrival times. If you have vendors that will be at your event, making sure that they know their setup and breakdown times. Like even if you think you have everything planned out, like still go ahead and double check, dot your I's, cross your T's, and then just be prepared for the unexpected. And in any case that something does happen, like just keep your calm, keep your cool. Try not to get super stressed out. It may be frustrating, but just know that everything is going to work out and your event is going to be okay. So make sure that you just remain positive, have a great attitude about everything, making sure that you're utilizing your teammates. So this is why it's important. One reason it's important for you to actually have a team, because when things go wrong, you forgot to pick up linen and you can't leave the event because it's starting in an hour. You can send someone who's on your team to go do the last minute task and things like that. So making sure that you're always like double and triple checking, making sure that all your confirmations are set and done. You can check them twice, you can check them 3 times, but just know that something's always going to come up. And as much as you try to plan a perfect event, just be prepared for the unexpected. So that is all that I have for you guys today. I can't believe this is the last day in January. So I'll do a quick recap for you guys. So the first one was making sure that you are avoiding getting overwhelmed. Number 2 was optional, depending on what type of event you are hosting, bar or food, making sure you're staying away from that. If it's a smaller event, you don't have to worry about food. Even if you're doing a larger event, you can decide if you want to just have a break for lunch and your guests can go out and purchase food and kind of mix and mingle and network with the people at the event. The third thing is making sure that you are getting contracts. All contracts need to be signed. Number 4, making sure that you are not going into debt trying to plan the perfect event, right? And the 5th thing is making sure that you are not relaxing too far in advance. So those are the 5 mistakes that I want you guys to avoid as you plan your next event. Today is the last day to get your strategy sessions. So my strategy sessions are usually $197 for 60 minutes. So you have until tonight at midnight to actually get 2 strategy sessions, 45 minutes each for $197. So it's pretty much almost like a buy one, get one free. So alacartegalore.com is my website. You guys can go over there to sign up for your strategy sessions. If you want any trainings that I have, go ahead and download the free e-guide that I have on my website is 7 ways to sell out your next live event. Once you download that, you'll get a couple trainings via email as well to help you during your planning process. So that is all that I have for you guys today, and I will see you guys next week. Have a good one.